One decision can save your life. Here are 10 proven ways to avoid being caught in a tornado before it's too late. Every year, more than 1,000 tornadoes roam the skies of the United States. Some last seconds. Others level entire cities in minutes. But behind every disaster, there's one constant. Most of the victims ignored signs, made mistakes, or acted too late. This isn't a simple manual. It's a survival guide built on real history, meteorological science, and decisions that made the difference between life and tragedy. 1. Don't trust the sky. Tornadoes don't always look like you imagine. What seemed like a simple afternoon storm in McLean County, Oklahoma, turned into a death trap. The sky turned a dull gray, thunder began to rumble in the distance, and yet, no one ran for shelter. The reason? They didn't see a funnel. They didn't hear the roar. There was no immediate alarm. And yet, an EF3 tornado, capable of lifting houses from the ground, was already forming just behind a curtain of rain, completely invisible to the naked eye. This is the first great lesson in survival. Don't wait to see the tornado to act. Many tornadoes don't look like the ones we've seen in movies. They're not always those perfectly defined funnels descending from the clouds like the fingers of hell. Sometimes they come hidden in clouds of dust. Other times they're wrapped in a dense rain that makes them almost undetectable until they're a few hundred meters away. These are known as rain-wrapped tornadoes, and they're especially deadly because they don't give off any direct visual signals. In McLean's case, it took just 7 minutes from the time radar detected rotation until the tornado touched down. By then, many were still outside, filming with their phones, convinced that if you don't see it, it's not there. This misperception is devastating. Current meteorological science has shown that 80% of tornado deaths occur when people underestimate the danger, often because they don't see the threat with their own eyes. According to the National Weather Service, direct vision of a tornado is not a reliable indicator of its presence or path. And here comes the key point: radar sees what the eye cannot see. Today, weather apps with Doppler technology can detect dangerous rotations even before a tornado hits the ground. But for this tool to save lives, it must be consulted in time. It's not enough to just look at the sky. You have to look at the radar, know the forecast, heed the alerts. Surviving a tornado doesn't begin when you see it. It begins when you anticipate it. 2. Never stay in a vehicle. It's a death trap on wheels. On the afternoon of May 21st, 2013, Interstate 35 outside Moore, Oklahoma, became a line of death. Dozens of drivers stuck in traffic watched in horror as an EF5 tornado, the highest level on the enhanced Fujita scale, approached like a faceless monster. Some tried to flee in their vehicles, others took refuge in ditches, but the vast majority simply didn't know what to do until it was too late. One of the most devastating images of that event was that of an 18-wheeler twisted like aluminum foil, tossed more than 300 meters by the winds. Its driver died instantly. He was inside the vehicle, believing its weight would provide stability. He was wrong. This is one of the harshest and most overlooked truths in tornado situations. A vehicle is one of the worst places you can be. Many people make the mistake of thinking they can outrun the tornado by driving fast. But here's the problem. Tornadoes can change direction suddenly and can move at speeds exceeding 75 kilometers per hour. Add to that the traffic, confusion, and debris on the road, and running away becomes an extremely dangerous option. A National Weather Service study revealed that more than 25% of tornado deaths over the past decade occurred in vehicles. Some were sucked into the funnel, others were struck by flying objects, and many simply lost control of their cars amid hurricane-force wind gusts. So what should you do if you're in a car and a tornado is approaching? First, don't attempt to overtake it unless you have full visibility, know its trajectory, and can escape unhindered. Otherwise, seek the nearest shelter. If there's a solid building nearby, such as a gas station, restaurant, or any structure with a firm foundation, get out of the vehicle and go inside immediately. Underground shelters or indoor security cameras are your best option. And if you're in a completely open area with no shelter available, the safest option is to get out of the car, move at least 30 meters away, and lie down in a ditch or depression, covering your head. It's not ideal. It's not comfortable. But it can mean the difference between survival or being blown hundreds of meters by the wind. The car's steel won't protect you. It'll just give you a false sense of security. 3. Don't wait for the alarm. Understand the weather's language before it screams. The city of Joplin, Missouri, experienced chaos on May 22, 2011. It was a Sunday. Many were at home, eating dinner or relaxing. The National Weather Service issued a tornado watch 24 minutes before impact. However, hundreds didn't react in time. The reason? They didn't understand the difference between a watch and a warning. Some didn't even know there was an active watch. The result? One of the deadliest tornadoes in modern U.S. history, with more than 160 lives lost. Here's the truth. The weather speaks before it attacks. But many don't understand its language. The U.S. alert system is designed to anticipate disasters, but it doesn't work if the public doesn't know how to interpret it. There are 2 key levels that can make the difference between preparedness and tragedy. Tornado watch. This means conditions are favorable for tornado formation. It's a warning. It's time to review your plans, charge your cell phone, find your nearest shelter, and monitor the radar closely. Tornado warning. This means a tornado has been detected either visually or by radar. There's no more time for preparations here. Act immediately. In Joplin, as in many other similar tragedies, people didn't respond to the warning. They waited for the warning. Some even waited to see the tornado. And when they saw it, there was no time left. The problem is twofold. On the one hand, there's a lack of meteorological literacy. On the other, alert fatigue. When people hear many alarms that do nothing, they begin to ignore them. The psychological effect is devastating. The next one could be the real one, but they no longer react. That's why emergency management and weather experts insist on public education. Understanding the difference between a watch and a warning can save your life. Knowing how to read radar, following reliable local weather reports, and having apps with personalized alerts is as vital today as having a first aid kit. In addition, there are natural signs that also speak for themselves. A sudden silence after a noisy storm, an abrupt change in wind direction, or a yellowish-green sky. None of these are definitive proof of a tornado, but combined with the technical information, they should put you on alert. The weather is warning. The problem is that many people wait for it to scream. By then, it's too late. 4. Never take shelter under a bridge, the worst place in the middle of a tornado. On May 3, 1999, the state of Oklahoma experienced one of the most intense tornadoes ever recorded. It was classified as an EF5. It reached wind speeds exceeding 480 kilometers per hour. The devastation was total, but beyond the material damage, that day left a tragic lesson that still resonates in emergency reports. Don't take shelter under a bridge. On Interstate 35, several people stopped their vehicles and ran toward a concrete bridge, believing the structure would protect them. It was solid, elevated, and seemingly safe. But what they didn't know, and what meteorological science had already warned about, is that this place could become an amplified wind chamber. Minutes later, the tornado hit. The pressure skyrocketed. The wind, channeled by the bridge's shape, became even more violent. People were literally ripped from their positions, tossed through the air like leaves in a storm. Several died. Others suffered serious injuries, all because they chose the wrong place to take shelter. The problem with bridges is that they create a tunnel effect. The shape of the structure can intensify wind speeds, compress airflow, and increase suction. Furthermore, they offer little to no lateral protection against debris, which travels at such high speeds that it can pierce through concrete or steel. A National Weather Service report released after that event concluded with a stark warning. Bridges are not safe havens during a tornado. In fact, they can increase the risk of injury or death. Despite this, the myth persists. Why? Because for years, television images and news reports showed people sheltering under bridges during storms. The image was powerful, but scientifically flawed. Some even survived by sheer luck or because the funnel didn't pass directly over them. but the exception became viral misinformation. Today, experts agree, if you're on a freeway and a tornado is approaching, leave the bridge area immediately. Find a sturdy building, a public shelter, or even a ditch if there's no other option. Any place that allows you to be lower than ground level and offers cover from flying objects is better than a bridge. In short, concrete may seem safe, but wind physics turns it into a death trap. Protection lies in the opposite direction, downward, not upward. 5. Don't open the windows. The myth that still puts lives at risk. On April 10, 1979, a powerful tornado ripped through Wichita Falls, Texas. It was a maelstrom of wind that swept away vehicles, uprooted trees, and ripped apart structures as if they were cardboard. By the time it passed, more than 50 people were dead. Many of them made a fatal mistake that, even decades later, continues to be repeated. They opened the windows, believing that would prevent the house from exploding under the pressure. This erroneous advice, passed down for generations, stems from a misinterpretation of physics. The myth goes like this: if a tornado is approaching, open the windows to equalize the pressure and prevent the house from exploding. It sounds logical, but it's completely false, and it can cost you your life. The truth is that the pressure inside a home changes just as rapidly as it does outside when a tornado approaches, and opening windows doesn't significantly affect that difference. Instead, it does allow high-speed debris to enter, which can become deadly projectiles. During the Wichita Falls tornado, multiple emergency services reports revealed cases where people lost vital seconds opening windows instead of seeking shelter. Some were struck by flying glass, debris, or even pieces of wood. Others were trapped in exterior rooms with no time to reach safety. And the irony is this: most houses don't burst due to internal pressure, they collapse due to structural failure. The roof blows off first, weakening the walls and leaving everything vulnerable to extreme winds. Opening a window not only doesn't prevent this, but it can actually accelerate the process by allowing wind to rush in and push against the inside. The Storm Prediction Center and the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, NOAA, have repeatedly debunked this myth. Their recommendations are clear. When a tornado approaches, don't waste time opening anything. Move away from windows immediately. So what should you do? Go to the safest spot in your home, an inside bathroom, a windowless closet, or a basement if there is one. Take a mattress or thick blanket to cover yourself, and stay away from any glass surfaces. The time you spend opening a window may be just what you needed to get to safety. 6. Don't rely on poorly constructed basements. Your shelter may fail. On June 1, 1967, the small town of Topeka, Kansas, was hit by an EF5 tornado. The tornado destroyed more than 1,000 homes and left dozens dead. What many don't know is that some of those victims were in basements. How is that possible? Isn't a basement supposed to be the safest place? The answer lies in a common misconception. Not all basements offer the same protection, and some can become death traps if they were not designed to withstand structural collapse. During the Topeka tornado, several residents took refuge in roofless reinforced concrete basements. When the houses collapsed on them, wooden beams, appliances, and even cars were swept away and fell directly onto the space where they thought they were safe. Some were trapped under tons of debris. Others were crushed to death. What was meant to be an underground sanctuary became their tomb. The problem is more common than we imagine. Many older homes, especially in states like Kansas, Oklahoma, and Nebraska, have basements built before strict structural safety regulations existed. In some cases, the only reinforcement is the floor itself and the brick walls. But a tornado doesn't respect flimsy construction. If the first floor collapses, the basement can fill with debris in seconds. So what does a basement need to be truly safe? First, it must have a reinforced internal chamber, preferably constructed of concrete or steel. This safe room, known as a storm shelter, can withstand impacts from objects traveling at speeds of over 300 kilometers per hour. It must also have adequate ventilation, easy access, and be free of heavy materials or furniture that could fall from above. Second, never assume that just because you're underground means you're protected. Evaluate the structure above you. If it's a mobile home, a trailer, or a home with a weak roof, a basement may not be sufficient. And third, prepare your basement before the storm hits. Have flashlights, water, a whistle, a battery-powered radio, and something to protect your head. If you get trapped, these items can help you survive and be found. In short, the right basement saves lives, the wrong basement ends them. 7. Don't ignore the power of debris. What flies, kills. When the EF4 tornado struck Tuscaloosa, Alabama on April 27, 2011, it didn't just destroy homes. It didn't just uproot trees or overturn cars. That day, the air itself turned deadly, laden with fragments of wood, metal, glass, bricks, and power poles. Witnesses reported winds tossing boards with such force that they embedded themselves in tree trunks like spears. In all, more than 200 people died that day. A significant portion of them were struck by flying debris. Many underestimate this factor. When thinking of tornadoes, the common image is of a funnel that destroys structures. But in reality, most serious injuries and deaths are not due to direct suction or collapse, but rather to impacts with objects that become projectiles. A simple 2x4 can smash through a wall if tossed by an EF3 tornado. A roof tile can act as a blade. A tree branch can become a deadly stake. Winds, when they exceed 200 kilometers per hour, don't discriminate. Anything not firmly anchored can fly, and anything that flies can kill. During the post-event analysis in Tuscaloosa, response teams found roof debris more than 20 kilometers from the impact point. An entire truck was dragged nearly a kilometer, and an entire family sheltering in a room with windows suffered serious injuries from shattering glass and metal fragments entering from outside. Therefore, it's essential to understand this. It's not enough to be undercover. You have to be protected from impact debris. Science backs it up. According to research from the Wind Science and Engineering Research Center, the safest areas inside a home are those without windows, surrounded by interior walls, and located at the lowest possible point in the house. Even a mattress can make a difference if placed over the body to protect it from impact. In many southern and central U.S. states, the lack of basements forces people to find alternatives. A bathtub, covered with a thick mattress and far from windows, can be a safer makeshift option than a living room with floor-to-ceiling windows, but the ideal is still a reinforced shelter, capable of withstanding the fury and debris. A tornado doesn't always have to hit you to hurt you. Sometimes it just needs what you left out. 8. Don't underestimate mobile homes. They're traps on wheels. On March 28, 1994, in Piedmont, Alabama, an EF4 tornado touched down in broad daylight. In less than 5 minutes, it reduced a mobile home community to rubble. Several people died, including children who were in a makeshift school inside a trailer. The scene was so devastating that first responders described the area as a dynamite-blasted zone. Statistics confirm it. Living in a mobile home during a tornado increases the risk of death up to 20 times compared to those living in traditionally built homes. Yet millions of Americans, especially in southern states like Alabama, Mississippi, and Georgia, live in mobile homes, often without immediate access to safe shelter. Here's the problem. Mobile homes aren't designed to withstand tornadoes, even low-category ones. Even an EF1 tornado, with winds as low as 130 kilometers per hour, can tear them off their foundations or completely overturn them. The lightweight walls, unreinforced roofs, and lack of ground anchoring make these structures more like a cardboard box facing a locomotive. For decades, many tornado victims believed they could ride the impact by taking shelter in an interior corner, a bathroom, or under a table. But post-disaster studies have shown that when a mobile home is lifted by the wind, there's no corner that can protect you. In some cases, bodies were found hundreds of feet from the original location, thrown by the force of the funnel. So what to do if you live in a mobile home? And the answer is clear and urgent. Don't stay there when a tornado warning is issued. You must have a pre-established evacuation plan, whether it's a community underground shelter, a nearby church, a permanent home with a basement, or a sturdy public building. The important thing is to act early. If you wait until the last minute, the tornado can reach you before you've even left. In addition, many vulnerable communities have begun installing individual steel shelters buried in the ground next to mobile homes. They're expensive, yes, but they're an investment in survival. Such a shelter can withstand impacts from debris at over 300 kilometers per hour and remain intact even if the structure above it is leveled. The tragedy in Piedmont and in dozens of other similar communities leaves us with a clear lesson. A mobile home is not a shelter. It's a risk. 9. Don't go out and record. Your cell phone is not a shield. On May 20th, 2013, the town of Moore, Oklahoma, was struck by an EF5 tornado. It was one of the most destructive in recent history. But among the reports of damage and casualties, there was one disturbing fact. Dozens of people were outside their homes recording the tornado with their cell phones when the funnel had already swept over the town. Some never returned. That day, as on so many others, fascination overcame fear. And that fascination cost lives. In the age of social media, live streaming, and shocking content, hundreds of people go outside during a tornado warning, not to flee or seek shelter, but to document the phenomenon. Some climb onto rooftops, others stand in the middle of the street. Many do it out of curiosity, but others seeking fame or virality. What they don't understand is that tornadoes are not predictable in movement or behavior. They can appear distant and change direction in seconds. They can hide behind rain. They can generate satellite micro-tornadoes around them. And above all, they can kill those who think they have one more minute. A study by the National Climatic Information Center revealed that in recent events, such as the El Reno tornadoes in 2013 and Nashville in 2020, a growing percentage of victims were people caught filming or taking photos. They weren't fleeing, they were filming. Even professional storm chasers have died from underestimating a tornado's speed or trajectory while filming. The most tragic case of all was the death of Tim Samaras, his son Paul, and their colleague Carl Young, who died during the El Reno tornado. Their team was one of the most experienced in the country. If they could be caught, anyone can be. The mistake is thinking that technology empowers you. Your cell phone connects you, yes, but it doesn't protect you. Your camera doesn't alert you. Your screen doesn't see the danger coming from behind. And if you're focused on the sky, you're not seeing the debris, the downed wires, the displaced cars, or the objects flying toward you. Authorities are clear about this. Once a tornado warning is issued, drop everything. Take shelter. Forget the photo. Ignore the temptation of the video. Documenting a tornado can seem epic until you become a statistic. 10. Don't improvise. The time to plan is before, not during. April 26, 1991, Andover, Kansas. An EF5 tornado leveled entire neighborhoods in a matter of minutes. The destruction was so complete that some homes literally vanished, leaving only foundations and dust. But amid the rubble, a pattern emerged. The people who survived didn't improvise. They knew what to do, where to go, and when to move. The victims, on the other hand, for the most part had no plan. They hesitated. They wasted precious seconds searching for where to run, what to take, who to call, and in a tornado, every second counts. Here's the last big truth in this guide. Improvising during a tornado is a mistake that can cost you your life. A survey conducted by the American Red Cross revealed that more than 70% of households in high-risk areas don't have a clear emergency plan. They don't know their shelter location. They don't have a survival kit. They haven't practiced drills. Even more alarming, many don't know the difference between a watch and a warning, or how to interpret weather radar. When a warning sounds, there's no time to think, only time to act. Therefore, the time to plan isn't when you hear the siren, but weeks or months before tornado season. An effective plan includes know exactly where your safest shelter is, whether it's a basement, an interior room without windows, a community shelter, or a hardened facility. Have an emergency kit with water, flashlights, a battery-powered radio, medicines, essential documents, and portable chargers. Establish a meeting point with your family or emergency contacts in case you are stranded. And very importantly, practice the plan at least once a year. Simulating a real-life situation helps your body act without thinking when the moment arrives. In many of the deadliest disasters, such as those in Joplin, Tuscaloosa, and more, the accounts of survival have one common thread. We knew exactly what to do. While the accounts of those who didn't survive, recorded by their families or neighbors, often begin with phrases like, "They tried to run to the car," "They went looking for the children," "They went to the neighbor's house." Improvising is a luxury you can't afford when you have less than 5 minutes before impact. A tornado doesn't wait. You shouldn't wait either. Every decision, every second, every mistake can mean the difference between life and death. Tornadoes have no conscience. They have no compassion. They just follow the rules of the atmosphere. But we humans do have one advantage. We can learn. We can prepare. We can act before the sky cracks. Are you as passionate about tornadoes as we are? Do you want to understand them, respect them, and survive them? Then subscribe now to Extreme Tornado, the channel where science meets adrenaline. True stories, storm analysis, survival guides, and the most impressive tornadoes on the planet, all in one place.